The old Ford rumbled down the dirt road, kicking up dust devils in its wake. Lena gripped the steering wheel, her eyes narrowed against the setting sun. Jasper, his long legs crammed awkwardly in the passenger seat, hummed along to a song on the radio. They were deep in the mountains now. The trees pressed close to the road, their branches like skeletal fingers against the twilight sky. "Are you sure this is the way?" Lena asked, her voice tight with worry. The GPS had died miles back, leaving them at the mercy of Jasper's questionable sense of direction. "Relax, Lena," Jasper laughed, his voice carefree. "It's an adventure." But Lena couldn't relax. The air itself felt different here, heavy with an unseen presence. The forest had grown too quiet, the usual symphony of birdsong replaced by an unsettling stillness. Then, the road ended. It simply stopped, swallowed by the encroaching forest. Lena slammed on the brakes, the car skidding to a halt. "Well," Jasper said, his cheer finally faltering, "this isn't good." Frustrated and a little scared, Lena and Jasper abandoned the car, their footsteps muffled by a carpet of dead leaves. The forest seemed to press in around them, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. Just when Lena was about to suggest turning back, she saw it. A light flickered between the trees, faint but unmistakable. "Look!" Lena pointed, hope surging through her. They walked towards the light, their pace quickening with each step. As they emerged from the trees, they found themselves on the edge of a small village. Quaint cottages with thatched roofs lined a cobblestone street, their windows glowing with warm, inviting light. A sign, hand-painted and weathered, hung over what appeared to be the main road. It read, "Eikenrest." Jasper frowned, pulling out his phone. "That's strange. There's no signal, and I've never heard of this place." Despite her unease, Lena felt a flicker of relief. At least they had found shelter. As they walked deeper into the village, they were met with smiles. Men and women in simple clothes, their faces open and welcoming, greeted them like long-lost friends. "Welcome to Eikenrest," a woman with rosy cheeks and a kind smile said, her voice as warm as the firelight spilling from the open doorway behind her. "You must be weary, travelers. Come rest, and join us for supper." Jasper, ever the trusting soul, immediately warmed to their hospitality. Lena, however, couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The villagers, though welcoming, had an odd stillness about them, their smiles strangely unchanging. The villagers ushered them into a cozy cottage, the air inside thick with the aroma of baking bread. A fire crackled merrily in the hearth, casting dancing shadows on the wooden walls. Lena, however, found no comfort in the homey atmosphere. She couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, scrutinized by unseen eyes. "You must be tired from your journey," the woman from earlier said, her voice soothing. "Let me take your coats." Lena hesitated, clutching her jacket tighter. "Thank you," she managed, her voice barely a whisper. She couldn't explain it, but something about the woman's unwavering smile filled her with unease. As the evening wore on, Lena's unease grew into full-blown alarm. She noticed the villagers' often repeated phrases, their words echoing strangely in the small cottage. The clocks in the village, all of them, ticked at an erratic pace, sometimes too fast, sometimes too slow. And their eyes. Lena shuddered, remembering the way their eyes never seemed to blink, their gazes unwavering and intense. Jasper, meanwhile, seemed oblivious to her growing anxiety. He laughed easily with the villagers, his earlier apprehension forgotten. But Lena noticed a change in him, too. He seemed hazy, his responses slow, his gaze distant. "Jasper," Lena whispered, leaning close to him. "Something isn't right here." Jasper blinked slowly, his eyes unfocused. "What do you mean?" he mumbled, his voice slurred. "Everything is fine. Everyone is so nice." But Lena knew better. This village, this Eikenrest, held a dark secret. She could feel it in her bones. While Jasper drifted into a restless sleep, his face pale and drawn, Lena decided to investigate. She slipped out of the cottage and into the night, the only sound the eerie chirping of crickets. The village was eerily silent now, the earlier warmth replaced by a chilling emptiness. As she walked, Lena noticed something carved into the base of a lamppost. It was faint, almost invisible in the moonlight, but unmistakable. A warning. It read, "Beware the sundown, do not stay." Lena's blood ran cold. She had to get Jasper out of this village and fast. She raced back to the cottage, her heart pounding in her chest. But it was too late. The first rays of dawn were just breaking over the horizon as Lena burst into the cottage. Jasper was gone. Panic seized me. I raced through the village, my cries of Jasper echoing unanswered. The villagers watched me, their smiles gone, replaced by these cold, predatory gazes. The once charming cottages now appeared twisted and, grotesque in the growing light. I found Jasper in the village square surrounded by the villagers, but he wasn't the Jasper I knew. His eyes were vacant, his face slack, just devoid of any recognition. He reached out a hand, his touch cold and unfamiliar. "Lena?" he whispered, his voice a hollow echo of its former warmth. "I can't remember." The villagers began to chant, their voices low and guttural, their forms shifting, blurring at the edges. They were no longer human. Their true nature, monstrous and terrifying, was revealed in the harsh light of dawn. They were creatures of shadow and nightmare, feeding on the memories and identities of the unsuspecting. I knew then that I couldn't save Jasper, not anymore. He was lost to them. My only hope was to escape, to warn others about the horrors of Eikenrest. Lena turned to run, the creatures closing in. Their forms flickered and twisted, their claws reaching for her, their eyes burning with a hunger that, honestly, just chilled her to the bone. Their voices, a cacophony of whispers and snarls, chased after her. She remembered the warning carved into the lamppost. Beware the sundown. The tunnel. There had been a tunnel behind the cottage, concealed by overgrown ivy. It was a long shot, but her only chance. Lena dodged and weaved through the creatures, their grasping claws tearing at her clothes. She could feel their cold, rancid breath on her neck, their hunger palpable. But she didn't dare look back. She reached the cottage and plunged into the darkness behind it, scrambling through the tunnel, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The creatures' shrieks echoed behind her, their frustration, well, absolutely palpable. The tunnel was narrow, damp, and reeked of decay, but it was her only hope. Lena emerged from the tunnel, gasping for breath, her clothes torn, her skin scraped raw. She had escaped the clutches of Eikenrest, but the memory of its horrors clung to her like a shroud. The sun was high in the sky now, banishing the shadows of the night. But the warmth offered little comfort. She was alone. Jasper was gone, lost to the creatures of Eikenrest. The thought of him, his vacant eyes, his cold touch, sent a shiver down her spine. She had failed him. She stumbled through the woods, her legs aching, her throat parched. The forest seemed to stretch on forever, an endless maze of trees and shadows. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. Not until she was safe, far away from the nightmare of Eikenrest. It was hours later when she finally stumbled onto a dirt road, her body on the verge of collapse. A truck driver, his face weathered and kind, spotted her and stopped. He didn't ask questions, just helped her into his truck and offered her water and a blanket. She told him everything. About the detour, the village, the villagers, the creatures, the tunnel, and Jasper. The truck driver listened patiently, his expression never changing. But Lena could see the doubt in his eyes. He took her to the nearest town, a small cluster of buildings huddled around a dusty gas station. The authorities were called, and Lena repeated her story, her voice trembling with exhaustion and unshed tears. They listened, took notes, and promised to investigate. But Lena could tell they didn't believe her. Not really. They looked at her with pity in their eyes, the same way you'd look at a stray dog, lost and confused. The search for Eikenrest yielded nothing. The village, if it had ever existed at all, had vanished without a trace. There was no sign of the welcoming villagers, the chanting creatures, or Jasper. Lena was left with her memories, her nightmares, and the chilling certainty that somewhere, hidden deep in the mountains, where the roads ended and the shadows stretched long, Eikenrest waited. Waiting for its next unsuspecting victims. Waiting for the sun to set. The road trip had been a mistake. She knew that now. But some roads, once traveled, leave an indelible mark, and some journeys, no matter how harrowing, never truly end.